Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 998. 998, Saturday, December the 28th, 2019. Alrighty, so before I get, and we have some really important things to cover today, but before I do, let's remember to get your votes in on this video, in the comments section of this video, for Dumbass of the Year. That's right. We're at the last Sunday or Saturday, however you want to look at it, in 2019. So throughout the year, we've done the Dumbass of the Week. We've had a lot of winners, well-deserving winners of the Dumbass of the Week award. But now what we want to do is take a look back at the entire year and find who is the Dumbass of the Year. And it's a tough decision, really, because there was a period of time back in the late spring, early summer where, like, Ocasio-Cortez was just cleaning up. She was winning Dumbass of the Week, seemed like every week. Lately, it's been a lot of Madam Botox. We've had the bug-eyed fool, Adam Schiff, has had his glaring moments in the sun. So it's a very, very difficult call for Dumbass of the Year. There are so many qualified, deserving contestants, nominees. So I know it'll take a little extra thought on this Dumbass of the Week, but because we're going to do the year. So get your vote in the comment section of this video for your pick for Dumbass of the Year. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get to the news of the day, and there's some really important things to talk about today. First, get the kind of light stuff out of the way first here. I guess many of you have seen or read or heard about this Washington Post article where they essentially destroy Rachel Madcow over her coverage of the Steele dossier. And you can summarize, in fact, their own words to summarize the article. They paint a picture in the article. Well, actually what they're saying is Madcow paints a picture of her coverage of the dossier with a pattern of misleading and dishonest asymmetry. Yes, a pattern of misleading and dishonest asymmetry. And what they're saying here is that as Madcow is out there pushing the dossier, she knows it's BS. And I don't watch Madcow. I watch a clip of her every now and then or whatever, but we all know that she, probably more than anyone in the TV media, was pushing the dossier. She would dedicate entire weeks to the dossier. She would bring on these former intelligence people, anyone who would come on her show and reassure her that there was things in the dossier, that it all had been proven true, that it's very likely it was all true, that Christopher Steele's a reliable source, that blah, 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 blah. And then even after it had been blown up, even though every time something in the dossier would get blown up, she would have some expert come on and try to explain it all away. It's almost like she had this thought in her mind that if she just kept saying it over and over again, if she spent enough time and enough energy trying to push the dossier and getting people to believe it was legit, that it would somehow become legit. But it never really did. And finally, we get to Uncle Bob, the executioner, he dodged any questions about the dossier. He didn't even want the word dossier. You rarely even saw Glenn Simpson or Confusion GPS even pop up in the Mueller report. So clearly, after Uncle Bob failed at what he was supposed to do, the dossier, it was pretty obvious. It made up no part, really, of what Uncle Bob wanted to talk about or what his report was talking about. They would never really use it in the Mueller report. And so that should have told Rachel Madcow a lot about the dossier. But she continued beyond that to even continue pushing the dossier. And finally, it's blown up by Inspector General Horowitz, Huckleberry Horowitz. But to this day, as far as we know, and this is what Washington Post is saying, Madcow has never really come out and said, okay, I spent mega hours of TV time, and my viewers spent mega hours watching as I tried to push this phony dossier for years. And it's finally been blown up. It was all complete BS. And she's never really come to terms with it. And so the Washington Post is essentially calling her out, saying, hey, you need to do a show, another show on the dossier about how you got it so wrong. Now, coming from the Washington Post, I mean, this is, it's kind of crazy because the Washington Post did their own amount of pushing a lot of fake news, and they still do. I mean, they're probably not the right person to be calling out Mad Cow, but you're going to start seeing a lot of this because these media organizations understand that Durham is investigating this. They've seen the IG report. They know what's in it. They know how bad it is. They know Mueller got blown up. So they know what's coming. And so now they have to try to figure out how they're going to be able to save face. Somehow they have to figure out how they can get back into the game where they can suddenly flip on a dime and say, hey, all this stuff, it looks like it did happen. It was really bad, and things and such. So this is kind of what's being pointed out. And you can also, as I pointed out a couple days ago in a previous video, we know that CBS has hired Catherine Herridge. And I was waiting around to see exactly what kind of reporting she would do at CBS. And as we can all see, that since she's gone over to CBS, it's 100% the same thing she was reporting at Fox. She's on the Spygate story. And so clearly CBS brings over Catherine Herridge, and they're letting her do the Spygate story and bring out Durham's investigation and all the malfeasance that they found at the FBI and the DOJ, and questions about what was going on in the intelligence community, and questions about Misfit, and all these things that have been really off limits in the liberal media for a long time. But some of these media organizations are starting to figure out that it's just a matter of time before they're going to have to explain how they got it so wrong. And so some of them are starting to turn the corner now and are trying to figure out how they can get back into this thing so they can try to save a little face or some of their credibility. I don't think they're going to be very, very successful because they've already pretty much ruined their credibility. And now, even if they come out and start trying to tell a little bit of the truth, people are simply not going to take them all that seriously, and everyone will understand why they're doing this. Because they attempted to lie to us and trick us for a very long time, but finally they know the truth's going to come out. They have no choice. Well, I don't have much use for those people. I'm sure many of you do not either. I've never really relied on them for anything. They've never, they just did a horrible job. They completely blew the story. They bought the Trump-Russia narrative, which was a total hoax, while completely missing the biggest political story in the history of our country. They blew it so big time, you cannot recover from that. They're going to try, but it's just not going to work. But yes, I agree with Washington Post for once that yes, Mad Cow needs to do an entire week of shows dedicated to the dossier and what a pile of garbage it is, and she knew it. And she needs to bring all those people back on, all those experts who told her it was all legit. She needs to bring every one of them back on, say, hey, here's a clip from 2 years ago. You said this. She needs to totally do an entire week and air that whole thing out, get it corrected. Let's see if she does it. I wouldn't bet a penny on it. She just wants to forget about it. We'll see. We'll see. Well, we have, once again, Hiawatha. Things are not going very well for Hiawatha, Elizabeth Warren. She's gotten herself into trouble again with more lies because she just lies all the time. And mostly what she lies about is herself. She continues to lie about herself. So now she's given a speech and she makes this statement that her father was a janitor. Her father was a janitor. Nothing wrong with that. But her brother had a big problem with it. So now her brother comes out, and he's furious that his sister, Hiawatha, is saying that her dad was a janitor, when in fact he says our dad was never a janitor. He was once a maintenance man, but a maintenance man's not a janitor. So now she's taken heat from her own brother for describing her father as a janitor, when in fact he was actually a maintenance man. You just can't win if you're Elizabeth Warren. Not only that, she has suffered a 30% drop in fundraising in her past quarter. When they had to show how much money they raised in the past quarter, her fundraising took a 30% drop. This is what is making a lot of people very nervous, and they're thinking, man, Bernie Sanders continues to rake it in. He's got that steady group of donors that'll never quit donating, but Warren needs to keep generating new donors. And she's put herself in a position she can't go out to the big corporate money and get it because she's been beating everyone else up about taking corporate money. And she can't attract enough small donors to keep up. This is why Obama is out there telling donors to donate to Elizabeth Warren. Her fundraising, if it continues at the pace it's going, she will simply have to drop out of the race. Or she will not be able to run enough ads or have enough of a ground game to be able to be effective in the upcoming primaries. So she's facing a lot of problems, and it doesn't help when you continue to go out and lie about yourself. So there you go. There's your Liawatha update for the day. John Solomon was on with Greg Jarrett, and I believe he was covering for Lou Dobbs, who's, I guess, on vacation. And Solomon, told Jarrett, he said, I'm hearing that they're really focusing a lot on McCabe and Comey and their statements that they made under oath and sworn testimony and various other things that they have said. And Solomon said, hey, you need to keep an eye on McCabe and Comey, that they are being looked at very closely. And we can assume he's talking about the Durham investigation. Yeah, well, you better believe that Comey and McCabe are being looked at very closely by Durham. I mean, that's pretty much a no-brainer, right? But there's a lot of people being looked at very closely by John Durham, including Mr. Potato Head, John Brennan, along with Clapper, Peter's Been Stroking Us, Susan Rice, and Loretta Lynch. All of these people, like Comey and McCabe, have made multiple false statements, pure lies. And what will be interesting is that when they're in front of Durham, they're not going to be able to lie. Either he's going to have them in front of a grand jury, or he is going to have them in a situation in a room where he's just going to be asking them direct questions, and you're not going to be able to lie to Durham. They've been able to lie to the media. They've been able to lie to Inspector General. They've been able to lie to Congress. Oh yeah, you can lie to these people all day long, no problem. But you're not going to sit there and lie to Durham. So, especially because by the time he gets around to interviewing you, every question he asks you, he already knows the answer to. So, unlike Horowitz, like, did you do it? You don't know. Durham is gonna do his investigation the way all prosecutors do. They go out and they get their case, and then they bring people in and they ask them about facts that they've established that they know, and then they see if the person lies. And and again, all these people have done that. So all these people are people that I would think that you want to keep an eye on. Certainly McCabe and Comey, but I would be watching very closely with certainly Mr. Potato Head, John Brennan, that idiot Clapper, Peter's Been Stroking Us, especially Susan Rice and Loretta Lynch. And some people are saying, well, when's he going to get around to interviewing Hillary or Obama or Rice or these Lynch or these people within Obama's cabinet to get to that level? Well, those are always the last people you interview. You interview the people below them, because those are the people who are eventually going to give up the people at the top. Everyone gives up the guy above them, their boss, basically. They can't really give up their boss's boss too much because they don't have direct contact with them. They can only give up the person directly above them who they had direct communications with. So that's how it typically works, and you work your way up. And so Durham isn't quite there yet, I don't think. I think he's still gathering information and evidence. At some point, though, he will begin the interviews. And he will start pretty much with the bottom tier. People in the know at the lower rungs. And he'll work his way up. The people like Lynch, Rice, Obama, Clinton, they will be the last people. Because by the time you get to them, you want to know as much as you possibly can. Because those people are the ones who you'll get the least amount from. They have really nobody else to give up but themselves. It's hard for them to put it on someone else. Below them, really, because they were responsible for the person below them, or the person below them wouldn't have had access or the ability to do the things or make the calls, make the judgments, make the decisions, give the orders, however you want to look at it. So this is the way most investigations work. You start at the bottom and you work your way up to the top. So yeah, that kind of answers that question. Ultimately, there's no question that the day is going to come when John Durham is going to have to walk into Barr's office and go, well, Mr. Attorney General, this is hard for me to say. This pains me a lot, and it's a very difficult thing to have to tell you. But, Mr. Attorney General, I think I need to interview the president, the former president, Barack Obama. I need to interview Barack Obama. And that day is going to come. And that becomes a sticky wicket and a little tricky issue. But ultimately, that day is going to come. That conversation is going to come up. And I'm pretty sure Barr knows it. And I'm pretty sure Durham knows it. It's just a matter of when. And, of course, Tom Fitton was just on last night or night before last. He was just on, and that's the question that he asked. I can't remember which one of the shows he was on. It was a Fox show. And he said, hey, when is Hillary and Obama going to be put under oath and ask tough questions about their involvement in Spygate? And again, I just answered the question. They will be amongst the last people to be interviewed. You want to have as much information as possible when you sit down with these people, because you get one crack at people like that. And they will be lawyered up, and there will be many people willing to take the fall for them. So you want to make sure you got all of your ducks in a row by the time you get to these people. But it is going to happen. I can assure you of that. I don't know if they'll go for the charge. And keep in mind, Obama, people say, well, wait, what can you do? Obama? Well, you can impeach Obama. Can you imagine the irony if after Durham comes out, finishes his investigation, starts indicting all these people, finds that it went all the way to the top, and it goes to Obama? People may fall on the sword for Obama, but there'll be certain things he simply will not be able to deny. It will be known that you generally, in this country, we generally don't take down American presidents and put them in jail. But they certainly have their reputations ruined. They certainly have all these problems. And they certainly can be impeached, including a former president. It is very likely that Barack Hussein Obama, if the Republicans win back the Congress in 2020, it is certainly possible that sometime after 2020 that the Republican House, controlled by Republicans, based on Durham's findings, could call for the impeachment of Barack Hussein Obama. Now, because a lot of Democrats, particularly those who are guilty of crimes, and particularly those who know how damaging this is going to be for their party, not just in 2020, but this will linger on into the 2022, 2024. It could linger on for, well, I mean, Watergate hurt the Republicans for 3 to 4 election cycles. I mean, the Democrats cleaned up for 3 to 4 elections after Watergate because of the stench that still remains. And, I mean, a party can use what the other party did. I mean, Watergate, the Democrats were still running on Watergate, 10 years after it happened, and still winning seats and getting positioned on issues. So you can expect the Republican Party will do the same. This, of course, is why Durham and Barr are so dangerous to the demo commies. So, of course, many of you have probably heard that this past week, a group of Democratic lawmakers, and of course the nuttiest of the nutty, you can guess their names, it's all the same, the same characters that we hear about all the time, Tlaib and Omar and Cortez and that nut who thinks the island's going to flip over, whatever his name is. Of course, Green, whatever his name, Al Green, the crazy guy. It was this group of about 15 or 20 of the most whacked out leftist Democrats that we have in the Congress. They sent a letter to the DOJ demanding that Barr and Durham resign from the Justice Department. And one of the main issues that they're saying, the reasons they're saying, is because they disagreed with the Inspector General. They disagreed with Horowitz. Horowitz said everything's great. The FBI, the CIA, they're great. Everything's fantastic. The IG report cleared everybody. That's what they want you to believe. We all know that's not true. Probably not a single one of these demo commies read the IG report. I would say would even understand it if they did read it. Their staffers probably haven't even read it. They don't care, quite honestly. But had they actually read it, they wouldn't be saying this or calling for this. But obviously, Barr and Durham would laugh at something like this. They aren't going anywhere. You can take that to the bank. Barr and Durham are not going anywhere. And you can send all the letters you want demanding the resignation. I mean, they actually, about a month ago, we just reported on this, about a month ago, a bunch of left-wing nutties sent something to the Bar Association trying to get Barr and Durham disbarred for investigating the investigators. So you can see that this is not playing very well, but this is exactly what you'd expect from these people. Okay, here we go with Natasha Bertrand again. For those of you who don't watch my videos every day, who don't know who Natasha Bertrand is, she is a former CIA babe. I have come to basically describe her as Mr. Potato Head's left-wing analyst cover-up person. Bertrand is either being paid by Mr. Potato Head, has a loyalty to Mr. Potato Head, or something going on there. Every time you turn around, she's out defending Mr. Potato Head and the CIA when he was the head of it. Always coming out and doing unbelievable spin. Now, she's a lying sack of shit. Everything that comes out of her mouth is a lie, and she knows it. She's constantly running cover for Mr. Potato Head. So keep this in mind. So she writes this article where she says, in the title of the article, the Intel probe puts CIA's Haspel in a bind. The review, led by U.S. Attorney John Durham, is making life uncomfortable for America's cautious spy chief. And the entire article is a hit piece on Durham, is basically what it is. It's a hit piece on Durham. Ignore the title. It's a hit piece on Durham. Read it for yourself. So here is just one of the many hit jobs on Durham in the article, and a lot of the spin that this is the idea of the type of spin she's putting out. Quote, when it comes to Durham, Haspel is likely confident that there has been no serious wrongdoing and therefore find a means to cooperate with the investigation, said John Cipher, a 28-year CIA veteran. So this John Cipher is a guy whose name she drops 2 or 3 times in the article. He's a 28-year veteran CIA guy who's obviously also a Brennan loyalist. And he was probably caught up in the scam as well, because he's being awfully defensive as well. But this whole piece, attempt to provide cover for Mr. Potato Head and to make it look like Durham is tightening the screws on Haspel, and that she's trying to defend the good reputation of the CIA, and Durham is trying to destroy it. This is basically what the gist of the article is. But in the article, Bertrand actually says that Haspel was the CIA chief in London in 2016. She admits to that. She even says that Haspel was briefed on Alexander Downer's outreach to the embassy. So Haspel was briefed on Downer's outreach, Alexander Downhatch Downer's outreach to the embassy in London. But it's unclear whether she was made aware of the FBI's plans to interview him, or if she knew about the use of an informant in London. She knew everything, my friends. She knew everything. She was the station chief. Any intelligence activity going on in her area of operation where she's the station chief, she would have been told. She knew everything. And so what's really going on here is this is an attempt again to run cover for not just Brennan, but for Haspel. Because it's dawning on some of these people, or maybe they've heard through the grapevine, that Durham has put two and two together and has thought, wait a minute, Gina Haspel, she's the one I'm requesting documents from, and she's not really wanting to give them up. She's the one that's going to have to come up with all these Brennan communications I just asked for. But I just realized that she was the London station chief during this time, and she would have known everything that was going on. She was part of the plot. So now John Durham is probably looking at Haspel. And if she acts in a suspicious behavior, she will find herself on his list. You can be assured that Durham, if he has not already, is definitely going to interview Haspel and find out what she knew and when she knew it. This is an attempt to get out ahead of that and to try to run cover again excuse me, for Mr. Potato Head and Gina Haspel. Gina Haspel is not going to survive this. She will not finish out her term as CIA director under Trump. She will not last. Once Durham comes out her name is going to come up big time in what was happening in London. And it's going to be a surprise to a lot of people, but we've already been through all of this, and we know this to be true. She was absolutely knew about what was going on, and if you knew about it, you should have known it was wrong. She did nothing. She didn't do the right thing, let's put it that way. She should have shut every bit of that down. Well, we also learned that the FBI is investigating this Ghislaine Maxwell and several other people linked to Epstein. Yeah, and this, of course, is coming directly from Attorney General Barr. There is a DOJ investigation. Barr is following it closely. And he's basically suggesting that people aren't just going to get away with what was going on here. There is an investigation going on, and they're focusing a lot on this Ghislaine Maxwell. She knows everything. I mean, let's face it. She knows everything. And this may be why we see Prince Andrew, I think it is, whatever his name is, has been essentially blackballed from the royal family. Because they know, and they're probably investigators over there asking questions. And they're probably... Everyone probably knows that it's just a matter of time before they're going to find their way to her. And when they find their way to her, and they start asking a lot of questions, she is probably going to give up the prince. They know what's coming, and it's coming from Maxwell. It's exactly where it's going to come from. She's going to take down a lot of people to save her neck. Let's see. Yes, another story a lot of people are following. We have quite a few subs to this channel who live in Virginia and are watching this very closely. A few people have commented on it. The fact that Virginia is currently weighing deploying the National Guard to enforce new anti-gun laws. And this, of course, could get very ugly. Now, I'm having a rough time believing that Governor Blackface would actually go along with something like this, or, suggest that he's going to use the National Guard to enforce these new gun laws. First of all, speaking as a former military person, I can tell you, having trained with National Guards people, they're pretty much just like regular people, and I would think that if you told a bunch of National Guardsmen to go into people's homes and relieve them of their firearms, I have to believe that many of them, first of all, would just say no. And they would go into their lieutenant, the commander's office, usually a lieutenant, and say, "I'm sorry, sir, I cannot follow this order. I think it's an unlawful order. I can't in good conscience follow this order. I need a Chapter 6 or a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 9. I can't follow the order." And I think that there'll be a lot of these guys who simply are going to say, "Nah, you got for $250 a month, I'm not going to go, relieve people of their firearms," especially because it could get ugly. Some people may not want to give them up. And how many cops in Virginia are actually going to do this? I know our sheriff, where I live, would never do it. I don't care what the government told him to do. He's already made that publicly, stated it publicly. He said he would deputize every gun owner in the county. He would not come out and take their guns. He would come out and deputize them. That's what he said. So, yes, I know Gene, one of our probably, I guess, more popular subs on this channel, because he comments almost every day, I think, practically every day, if not every day. He lives there in Virginia. He'd be probably the person to give us the best insight on it. I'm trying to follow the story. It's not getting near as much play as you would think, but my issue here is, do we actually believe that National Guardsmen and cops are going to participate in relieving people of their firearms? This seems to me that before you would move on that there would be a court case. People do have the right to keep and bear arms. It's called the Constitution's Second Amendment. I would think that a constitutional argument would come up before the actual actions were taken. We'll just have to keep watching. But this is a devastatingly stupid move for the Democrats. I mean, every political tactic that they are using is the worst. I mean, I've never seen a political party take such a track where they're trying to run on or push the most unpopular ideas that you could possibly imagine, and believe that this somehow is going to help them. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Um, it's just, it's really hard to imagine because you know, it's not just Republicans that own firearms. There are two groups of people here that, you know, you have to consider. Number one, there are a lot of Democrats who own firearms, and they're watching Virginia. All over the country, people are going to be watching Virginia. And a lot of Democrats own firearms and want to have their Second Amendment protected. And if they see what's going on in Virginia, this could turn a lot of Democrats on one issue, Second Amendment, could turn a lot of people to Republicans, and especially Trump. And you also have a lot of Republicans, or people who wouldn't even consider themselves a Republican, people who do not vote, never voted, never registered to vote, who have firearms. And if they see something like this go on, they will feel very threatened, and they may say, man, I've never voted before. I don't like Republicans. I think they suck. But at least Republicans are going to defend my Second Amendment rights. As bad as I hate these people, I'm going to go register as a Republican and vote. So, yeah, the negative consequences on a move like this, I'm surprised that national Democrats in an election year are not burning this guy's phone up saying, listen, Governor Blackface, back off. Just let this go, brother. This is bad. This is all bad. We have Democrats trying to get elected here in about a year, reelected in about a year, and this could sink dozens and dozens of Democrats all over the country, not just in Virginia. So we'll keep watching this story. Yes, it is definitely something to pay attention to. Well, we have an FBI agent named Mark Tolson, Tolsen. He has just pled guilty to leaking emails of Jack Burkman, who's a lobbyist, Republican lobbyist. He's leaked emails of Jack Burkman to the press. Tolson was an FBI analyst. Tolson will serve 7 days in jail and pay a $500 fine. Tolson said that he did what he did to protect Robert Mueller. Why did Robert Mueller need protecting? And how did leaking Jack Burkman's emails protect Mueller? And what is Jack Burkman known for besides being a guy who bundles a lot of money for the Republican Party, who in the beginning was not a big fan of Trump, but later pretended to be? As you know, I don't care much for Jack Burkman. But he's also, most notably, most people know Jack Burkman for this stuff he got involved in regarding Seth Rich. Seth Rich. Burkman's most recent claim to public fame, I guess, or having his name out there in the past 3 or 4 years, it's all been about his dealings in the Seth Rich case and the accusations he's made and all sorts of crazy things that come out of his mouth. Very interesting that this FBI analyst is leaking stuff on Burkman to damage him, to protect Mueller. And the number one thing that Burkman was involved in was Seth Rich and getting to the bottom of who killed him. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're all out of time. Don't forget your vote for Dumbass of the Year. See ya. Bye.